Hi and welcome to The Courageous Collective, the podcast where we celebrate diverse women who dare to do things differently. I'm Rupa Baradva, a copywriter and communication specialist. I work with women entrepreneurs to help them get clear on their brand messaging, and I help them become more visible to their target customers using PR.
And I'm Vardeep Edwards, founder of The Branding Fox, a design consultancy that supports women in business with their branding and design needs. After working in corporate roles, we both took the leap into self-employment and created our own businesses where our skills and experience could really shine. But something we both noticed was the lack of women that looked like us at events, on speaker panels, and in the media.
Which is why we created the Courageous Collective podcast. This is our platform to celebrate and champion diverse women who are smashing it in their businesses. In each episode, we speak to a female founder about the story behind their business. We explore their inspirations, the challenges they faced and how they've dealt with them. And we talk about what they're yet to achieve.
Welcome to the Courageous Collective and enjoy today's episode. Hi, and welcome to today's episode of the Courageous Collective. Today we've got Rachel Harvey, who runs her own coaching business. Rachel, would you like to tell us a bit more about you and your business and what you do?
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel and I'm a coach in the transformation sector, I would say. So what I do is I help business women who are really looking to level up, and they know that there's something more, something bigger for them, but they are getting in their own way, basically. And they've got that voice that's saying, you're not good enough to do this. You know, what are you doing? The whole imposter syndrome and self-sabotage going on. So I work with these lovely ladies, and using a tool called belief coding, we just smash through those negative beliefs and we build in new positive beliefs that just help them to get to the next level and just smash through any glass ceilings that are currently in their way of growing and scaling the business that they really want.
That's amazing. I think this is quite a new area for you in your business.
It is actually. I first came across belief coding about almost a year ago to the day. Right. And prior to that, I had a Facebook ads agency, and prior to that, I had an education franchise. So I have had several businesses over most of my working life. Before that, I was a self-employed model.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have worked for myself most of the time with a short space of being a primary teacher in between.
Right.
And you know, I've built businesses, but at the same time, I've always suffered with that, that voice saying to me, you're not good enough for this. What are you doing? And every time I get so far, it would just pull me back again. And, this time last year, I came across belief coding. And when I listened to the founder, Jess Cunningham, talk about it, I was like, wow, that sounds incredible. I'm just going to do this to try and heal myself. And in doing so, I just found out that, the amazing results that you get with it. And so I decided to, in fact, gave myself permission to let go of my Facebook ads business and start this new business with coaching with belief coding. So I'm an accredited facilitator, so I can help people on a one-to-one basis to just, banish and get rid of the negative beliefs that are plaguing them. But there's also a coaching arm to this where I take people through a program that really deals with imposter syndrome and the self-sabotage and procrastination, teaching them how to use this tool for themselves. So that I just absolutely love doing that.
That's amazing. And I don't know about you, Rupa, but I feel like I've got so many questions. That's been quite a journey. What did you study at school and in university if you went there out of interest?
I did actually go to university, but not until I was in my 30s.
Okay.
Yeah. Prior to that, I studied science. I absolutely love science. I love woo, but I like to know the science behind it. And there's a lot of science behind it. Lots of quantum physics involved. So I find that really fascinating. But I chose not to go on and do a science degree. And I actually went back into modelling, which is what I had been doing prior to that for quite some time. And then after I had my son, I was like, okay, I've got this person to look after.
Yep.
I need to find, a really good way of providing for him. And I wanted to inspire him to, think bigger and, find something he loved to do. So I took myself off to university in my 30s and I studied primary teaching with science. And I got my first teaching job, carried on, I did a master's in education. But during that time of being employed in the school, I suffered really badly from bullying from senior staff. And that led me to thinking, what can I do now? I've spent all this time, I've done 2 degrees, I've got all these skills. And through searching, I came across an education franchise and I decided to go all in with that. And I set up a franchise from scratch. And again, my son was my big why at this point. Like, I wanted a good life for him. I wanted him to see the possibilities. So I spent 10 years doing that. But at the same time, I realized that it wasn't my passion. So I looked for other things that, would be more fulfilling for me as he grew up. And that's when I came across social media and Facebook ads. So I made that change and started my Facebook ads agency. But yeah, again, I realized that also was not my passion. I loved it to start off with. But, I realized it's not my purpose in life. And that's when I came across belief coding. And this is my purpose, is to help other women just to, be able to achieve whatever it is that they desire, that they are literally stopping themselves from doing.
Well, first of all, so sorry to hear about the bullying, Rachel. But I mean, your journey to kind of where you've got to now is incredible. We also spotted that you might have had a film credit in The Fifth Element. Is that right?
Yes. Back in my modelling days, I also did quite a lot of TV appearances in the background. Fifth Element, Interview with a Vampire, Frankenstein, quite a lot of films of that era. And Fifth Element was probably my favourite one. The cast were really lovely. We did promo shots with Bruce Willis, still circulating on the internet somewhere.
That's incredible. So tell us a bit more about the coaching that you do now. And I mean, I think Vardeep and I were both nodding along when you talked about imposter syndrome, self-sabotage. These are things that, as business owners, we're faced with all the time. How do you use your coaching to support, women like ourselves in kind of overcoming these challenges?
So with the coaching program, we look at 7 pillars or 7 areas that are very much interlinked, and that are really the things that stop you from putting yourself out there and, really going for it, going big. So what we do is using the workbooks for each pillar. We really dig into the underlying beliefs that are actually stopping you from doing what you wanted to do. And we look very carefully and deeply and think, if I didn't have these beliefs, what would I be doing? Like, what is it actually stopping me from doing? And so once we can uncover those beliefs, then we use the tool to actually release those beliefs. We work with the subconscious directly, with the memory of when it happened and when these emotions got trapped that are making you feel not good enough. I'm going to be found out, all of the lovely things that come along with imposter syndrome and all the other areas that we look at. So it's, it is to dig deeper underneath the surface of what is causing you to, that inaction, so that you turn around and you start to take the inspired action, because you no longer have these beliefs that are holding you back. Because 95% of our thoughts and actions are run by our subconscious. Even if our conscious mind knows better, our subconscious does run the show. So you have to completely rewire your belief system. Most of us, that belief system is more negative than positive.
That's amazing. There's so much talk about imposter syndrome as well. I don't know if that's something you notice as a business owner yourself. Do you notice it particularly in female founders at all? I know you predominantly work with women running their own businesses.
Yes, I do. I think imposter syndrome is gender wide. Everyone suffers from it at one time or another. Perhaps women are just a bit more used to talking about it, but I, have spoken to men who also suffer a lot from it, but I think they're better at hiding it than we are probably a lot of the time, and can appear more confident on the outside, even if they're not on the inside.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty widespread. And personally, I've suffered with it a lot over the years through probably all of the careers I've had. There's always been this voice saying, I don't think you want to do this. Somebody's going to find you out. Yeah. You're just winging it,
Yeah, I think, I don't know about you, Rupa, but I can identify with that. And I'm sure a lot of other listeners and female founders and business owners would as well. What do you think are some of the challenges you started you've rather had to face? You've had several businesses. Do you think there's a kind of a common theme between some of the challenges? Have you had different challenges with different businesses? What are some of the things that you've kind of had to overcome? You obviously talked quite a lot about imposter syndrome. Is there anything else that kind of springs to mind?
Yeah, I think that the advice I've given myself in starting another business is not to feel like I have to have everything perfect before I do something. I don't have to have the perfect website. There's a lot of things that you can just get going with without thinking that you've got to go and spend all of this money before you've got the clients. Because previously I have done that. I've thought I've had to have all of these things in place, all of the systems, the pretty websites. Social media is more of a given because you do have to market yourself, but I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I spent a lot of money before I needed to. Mm-hmm. And this time around, I've decided to be way more streamlined, and think carefully about what I'm putting in place, having had that prior experience and knowing that actually you don't need that much to get started. Just get started.
Yeah, and it's really good advice.
As you go along, as and when you need help, and also use experts.
That's such good advice as well for anyone starting their own business or kind of considering starting their own business, because I remember thinking everything had to be perfect, and the people who are doing the job that I wanted to do or the work that I wanted to do are already, they're perfect. Their websites are perfect, and actually, it's only when you dig a little bit deeper, actually, they don't do everything. And actually, they focus on like particular areas, as you said, Rachel. So that's really, really great advice. Talk to us a bit more about how you've promoted your business and yourself. Obviously, a previous business of yours was focused on Facebook ads. So how did you kind of get started in terms of marketing yourself and, I guess, getting a bit more visible?
Mostly I've done social media marketing, so utilizing various platforms, and also networking as well. Before lockdown happened, there was a lot more, face-to-face networking, and that's evolved into a lot of Zoom networking, but it's still really nice now we're able to go to in real life networking again. So the two go hand in hand. I think you really need to, expand your connections and build relationships. You can't expect people to just see you once and be ready to buy from you. They need to know, like, and trust you. And there's quite a lot of touch points that people need to go through before they will have felt like they know you a bit and that they can trust you, to give you a chance to work with you. So yeah, definitely consistency on social media, getting your face out there, especially if you are the face of your brand. Being on video really helps people get to know you better, I feel. And that was one of the great things I found when I came across Belief Coding, was the founder. She really was the face of it. And you really felt like you'd got to know her somewhat through her videos. So, yeah, big plus point.
And in terms of other women who are starting out and running their business, do you have sort of one main tip in terms of helping them get more visible?
I would say be consistent on social media, but it's not just about consistency, it's also about quality. You need to do market research. You need to speak to the people who would be your clients. You need to find out what they need. There's no point assuming what people want. You actually need to speak to people and find out, so that you can then present a solution to, their needs or desires, rather than guessing and then finding nobody's bought your program, and it's because it's not what people actually need or want. So market research, number one, and build from there. Once you know your audience, you'll be able to create content for that audience. That's my big advice.
Love that. And do you think, just going back quickly to in real life events and actually meeting people, what about actually putting yourself out there, as you said, and speaking at events, or, you've come onto our podcast, which we're so appreciative of, but a lot of the marketing and getting visible is about saying yes. Would you agree?
It is. And, to be absolutely truthful about, being visible, before I came across Belief Coding, that terrified the pants off me. Dealing with your inner beliefs can be a really, helpful tool to being visible, putting yourself out there publicly, and not being afraid of, people judging you or people disagreeing with you, because it's fine if people disagree with you. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but, you need to have the confidence to put yourself out there. And, that's a big thing to work on if you're coming up with any resistance about doing that. Do the inner work first.
Love that. And you mentioned woo, being a bit woo at the beginning. I'm just personally quite interested in that. What does that mean for anyone who hasn't heard that term before?
So a bit woo, a bit spiritual, I guess. With Belief Coding, it's really fascinating because a lot of the beliefs that you have can be inherited and absorbed through generations and also through past lives. And that's where we get to the woo part. So, depending on your beliefs, but it's what your subconscious presents to you in order for you to heal. So I find that all absolutely fascinating. But a lot of it is backed by quantum physics, which the science geek in me absolutely loves.
I love that. Love a bit of woo. I think it's, it definitely adds something to believe in certain things as well. So thank you. So if we talk about your business, I mean, as you said, you're a year into your coaching business now. Where do you see your business in, say, 5 years' time?
In 5 years' time, I'd like to be working, with a lot of business women throughout the year. Because my course is done in a live kind of way, then I work with cohorts. So, to work with fully booked cohorts throughout the year and be able to help as many business women as I can to, achieve the life that they really want and desire. And, to do that with absolute confidence in themselves, without worrying what anyone else thinks, and without thinking they have to do things a certain way because somebody's told them, to just really be able to step into their own power. And in 5 years' time, I'd like to have helped as many women as I can with that.
That sounds amazing. I think there's so much advice out there, isn't there, in terms of how to be a business owner, how to run a business. And I don't know if you've had that experience, Rachel, but I think, from my own personal experience, I just think there's lots of different ways. There's not any one way. So it's really interesting that you talk about helping these women find their own path, as it were, and what works for them.
Yeah, I think we have to really learn to listen to our inner voice, our intuition, gut feelings, and go with what feels right for you, because there is lots of advice and there is lots of ways of doing business and there's lots of business models to follow. You have to find the one that's right for you, rather than being told you must do it a certain way. We have different personalities as well. And for people that are into things like human design, then, there's lots of ways that will feel better to some people than to other people. And I think it's just really finding what works for you, what suits you, and ultimately what makes you happy, which after all is what most of us want, to feel fulfilled and happy and feel free.
Yep, absolutely. It's amazing. Thank you so much, Rachel. And where can people find out more about you and your business and what you do?
I'm mainly on LinkedIn, so come and say hi and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to chat and share content and ideas. And it's a great platform for building relationships, actually. I find that above some of the others, it's a real place for building relationships and connections.
Yeah, it's changed quite a lot, I think, hasn't it, from where it first started?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a lot less spammy and salesy as some of the other platforms that we could mention. Yeah. But yeah, there's lots of lovely people on there. So come to LinkedIn and say hi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rachel. Don't know if you've got anything else you'd like to ask, Rupa?
That's it from me. Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Rachel.
And you. Thank you so much for having me on.
It's lovely. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been great to have your support for our podcast, and and great to hear your story. I think it's been amazing. And I know it will be of interest to some of our viewers as well. So thank you, and hope to speak to you soon. Thank you for listening to today's episode. The Courageous Collective is created by Rupa Baradva and Vardeep Edwards. We really appreciate your feedback, so please like, share and follow us. Please also subscribe to receive an alert for our next episode.
You can find out where to follow us on social media in the show notes. And if you'd like to be a future guest, please do get in touch. Thanks and see you soon.